as you maybe saw, I was in a different room before. But in this webinar room, we will talk about how to hire an international. We have two great people here. One is called Betty Spiele. She's from IBM. And we have Alex van Ginneken, and he has multiple companies. So what I would first like is maybe you can give a short introduction. I can also short introduce myself, and then I will go. Let's go into the topic. And so let's start with you, Alex. Who are you?
Hi, I'm Alex van Ginneken, online entrepreneur and online business coach. And I'm also the chairman of the Noordelijke Online Ondernemers, also Northern Online Entrepreneurs.
Thanks. And Betty?
Hi, I'm Betty Spiele. I'm HR leader of the IBM Center in Groningen.
Very welcome, very welcome. Betty, we are here for the webinar, How to Hire an International. And of course, IBM is a very international company, a global player in all kinds of, I can imagine you can talk about this for hours, but let's start with a specific question to you. How does it tick at IBM? How does it work? Well, how is the environment? Are the internationals working? Of course, I guess. How's the corporate culture? Can you tell me a little bit?
Okay, where to start? It is difficult. Let me start in Groningen.
Okay.
In Groningen, the center consists of 250 people with 35 nationalities. So you can call it, although it's Groningen, it's international as well. And we are part of the bigger IBM, of course, as you said, globally. And in IBM, there is an enormous focus on diversity and inclusion. So diversity is more than only being an international, more than being a male or female. It is also to do with sexual preference. It has to do with way of thinking. We like to have a lot of diversity because it gives a focus on from different angles. But the biggest and most important thing is it's nice to have diversity, but inclusion. That's where it really starts.
So I was lucky, Betty. I have been visiting your corporation and your organization in Groningen, and I've been looking at this great atmosphere where all these people are working. You walk on grass, you be in hammocks and playing whatever. So I think that's also gives something for the environment. Let's go to Alex. Alex, you have actually multiple companies, but we won't talk about all the things you were doing. But especially you have also an international team, I think. And maybe tell us a little bit about the atmosphere on your team and how is with your cultural backgrounds of the different people working at, and how does it work? How do you think?
Yeah, one of my companies is Nieuwbouw Online, and we built a software. We have a SaaS platform in the Dutch market for real estate agents who can sell the new real estate on our platform. And we started our companies 5 years ago, and I think 4 years ago we started with hiring international talent. First we started with trainees, and for me there are multiple reasons to build an international team. First of all is the vibe. I really like the more international vibe in the company, and as you know, most of the programmers are gamers, so their English is also already very good most of the times. And but other reasons for us is it's the first step to get ready for international growth, because when you have an international team and you want to work, you want to grow internationally, it's easier to connect with other teams in other areas or other countries, and it's easier to build an international focused company. It gives us easier access to resources. For example, now since 2 years we work together with software developers in Poland, and so it was for us very easy to connect those Polish people to our development team because we already do everything in English, documentation, etc. And in the future, we think that we are more attractive for future acquisitions. It can be that we are acquired or that we acquire ourselves in other countries. So that are a few reasons for us. And last one, I really love the ethics of foreign people. I see that they're a bit more motivated, and that's good for it's healthy for our company.
What's the name of your company, Alex? What's the name?
Nieuwbouw Online.
Nieuwbouw Online. And we
Yeah.
talked about it. This is real estate new online something.
Yeah.
We translated, but it's
Yeah.
also one of the companies you work for. Betty, at IBM is also a multicultural environment, as we know. You are more like the recruiting part of it. How does it work? How do you recruit? Where do you look at? Why internationals? Can you
Why
tell me?
internationals? Well, internationals because of two things. First of all, the shortage of skills in the Dutch market. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that we like, of course, the variety of people. Recruitment, everything is done in English in IBM. So recruitment, also we speak English most of the day. So that's really simple for us. So recruitment is done via the bigger IBM platforms, and everything is in English. Actually, we had this week a selection day for new graduates, and also that is done online in English. Everything, is ready to receive internationals, in fact.
Yeah, so even talent would apply then for a job at IBM in your organization. What would be then important for you if you would judge one of those talents? If they will send you a letter and say, "Hi, I'm Michiel. I say I want to work at your company." What is then important? You think?
Of course, the reason why you want to work is important. But I think we have two kinds of recruitments. First of all is the experienced hires, and then we recruit actually for a role, and we have a requirement on certain skills. But the other recruitment is more for graduates, and we will give them training for 2 months, full days of training, and then afterwards they go on projects. And actually for the last type of recruitment, the graduates, we look at how eager someone is to learn, maybe their capabilities in more technical things, whether they know already something in software engineering, things like that.
Okay, great. And Alex, because you also have a lot of internationals already working, where would you look at if someone would apply for a job at your organization?
Of course, ambition and the skills. We first do a code review. If there's a match between
the click is important, huh? Yeah.
What?
Well, the click is also important, of course.
Yeah, of course. And
the same goes for Betty, probably. Yeah. Hey, about procedures and formalities, because a lot of companies and also talent think it's quite hard to hire an international. What is your experience, Alex? Is it difficult to hire an international? How does it work?
Yeah, first of all, you have to have that END sponsorship when you want to hire people outside the EU.
You have this already, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. And IBM, of course, also, but they have it for years already, probably. Yeah, go ahead, Alexander.
Yeah, and it's not, I really recommend to get that status, because it's it's a process of 3 or 8 or 9 months. In our case, it was 8 or 9 months because of Corona, and you have to get your figures and some sheets and a lot of documentation. But once you've done that, and everything is all the figures are good, etc., then you get an approval, and from there you can hire international talent from outside the EU quite easily, actually. When it comes to trainees, we work together with ISAC, and ISAC is an organization which helps find trainees from universities around the world. And so far, we've got people from Brazil, Tunisia, Algeria, a lot of other countries. And it takes a bit more time, because first you have to make a selection, and after that it takes about 3 months before the talent or the trainee is in the Netherlands.
Yeah, nice. And so the permit is quite okay to do if you are a referent of the IND. So I work at the Expert Center for Northern, so of course we handle a lot of companies, and luckily also with your companies. to hire internationals, and we give them permits, and we arrange information, and we give a lot of things. We also for partners, if you want to go to school, or you need to have more information about insurance or banking. That's what we all do. But still, there are a lot of boundaries, I guess. What are boundaries, Betty, that you think are you have to cope with? Are there difficulties for hiring internationals? Do you feel that
For the hiring itself, I think there are not so many boundaries. No. People in some countries are very eager to come to the Netherlands, so I don't think that makes it really difficult.
And what is then, because I hear that sometimes it's quite difficult for talent to also to adjust maybe to the situation, and that's have everything to do, of course, how you as a company also work and try to make things comfortable for internationals. Is there something like boundaries you come to focus with?
Well, I think what we see quite often with young people is that they come very adventurous to Groningen. They can't spell it, but they come to Groningen, and then the real life starts to sink in. And that means that they have to build a network, they have to make friends, they live far away from their family. And especially now in this pandemic situation, it is sometimes really hard for them.
Is this also for your company? What was your, say, this cultural difference you have to cope with as a company? What are the changes you had to do as a company, or things? Maybe Betty first, and then I also would like to know what Alex did. Are there things you do differently so it makes it easier for all the different cultures in your company to work actually? I'll pass this on first to Alex. Alex, if you have all these cultural differences, what are the things you do as a company to make them more comfortable?
Yeah, the biggest thing is the foreign people do respect the hierarchy. The hierarchy.
Hierarchy, yeah, it's a difficult word. I also stumble on it.
So what I see is that you really have to invite them to open up and to discuss things. And what I see is that they try the unofficial route via colleagues or that kind of things.
Oh, yeah.
Can you ask to Alex this and that? But they have to learn that there's an open door policy and that they really can ask everything. And that's the biggest cultural difference I see so far.
Yeah, and you learn then also as an entrepreneur to change your company maybe for all these. You just encounter all these cultural differences, and you find out probably in your work it's difficult that there's no English information available. Or are there things you change in your company for that?
Small changes, of course, things like the salary letters and all things around it.
Exactly, yeah.
Also information, we had a handbook, it had to be translated and a bit expanded to onboard those internationals a bit better. And sometimes we have to guide them with housing or that kind of things. But now we, in our onboarding or intake, we discuss these kind of things directly. So that helped a lot.
Yeah, how do you do that, Betty?
Well, indeed, as Alex says, in the onboarding, you need to address a lot more things than with Dutch people. For instance, the health insurance in some companies, or in some countries, it comes with the company. But in the Netherlands, it's not so. And it is a mandatory thing. Yeah. So those things you have to mention. Yeah. And when they arrive in the company itself, I think that it helps when you pay respect to other cultures. Don't talk about political things. These are mostly sensitive, but pay respect to the culture.
I can imagine, and I can imagine your team is also changing over time, every time again, because you do projects around the world from IBM, I guess. So the team in Groningen will probably work also in Amsterdam or maybe even in Berlin. And how does that work then? Because this team also, do you train them in this, or do you help them to collaborate together with these different perspectives?
if these are inexperienced people, just graduates, they get a 2-month full-time training. And in those 2 months, we not only train them in the technical things, but also in the environmental things. So working in projects, how do you do this? And these project teams change. But that's one thing. So we train the newcomers, but also we train the managers. In IBM, everyone has to do a mandatory training on unconscious bias. So learn where you as a person, because we are all brought up in a certain culture with thinking of that culture, but learn where you maybe are stuck in that culture and not open to other cultures in an unconscious way. So that's what the training we provide all of the people.
Yeah. So I thank you very much, Betty. I think that's quite clear. If you hire internationals, for Alex, I'm pointing to you. If you hire internationals, then it's of course it was a change for you to do this. So you at one point you thought maybe, oh well, let's start maybe with another perspective in my company. Why would another company do that? Because I know there are some, of course, companies in the Northern Netherlands present who didn't even think about it maybe to hire internationals because they even might be scared of it. What would you say to them? Would it be wise to do, or what would be the benefit, or would even be the problems you will encounter?
I always worked with internationals, for most of the time trainees, and now we brought it a step further that we really hire them. So that's the next level for us the last 3-4 years. But I really recommend to hire internationals, because again, it's very good for your company. I like the vibe. The work ethics are very good. It's easier to connect more talent and resources to your team externally from other countries. And I think, when I look at the more established companies, most of the time they are Dutch focused. But when I look at the new startups, most of the times they start in English. They start their website in English. They start everything is already in English from the basics and more from the start. And also sometimes in the start there's someone an international involved. So I see that it's changing. So the startups are more internationally oriented than the more established companies, and I see that back in, for example, in the vacancies. When I look at the more established companies, the most companies don't have their vacancies translated in English, and that's where the opportunity is, because from there's a lot of talent coming to the Netherlands, to the university and to the Hanze and other schools, and after they graduated, they are searching for a job, but when they start searching for a job, they don't find any English vacancies. So what happens is that they want to stay in the Netherlands, and then they start searching in the area of Amsterdam or Rotterdam, and so international talent is leaving the north, and I think we have to take care of those people, and we should have a strategy to keep this talent here in the north, and because it's very healthy for our businesses, and it solves a resource problem, because some companies find it hard and difficult to find a developer, but they didn't search for an international developer, and so it's another way to solve your resource problem or resource challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine. And Betty, in your experience, you have been working for IBM already for a long time. We talked about this, and I think you also experienced how IBM is evolving. Actually, it's set down this innovation center in Groningen in this case, and of course they have the IBM Amsterdam on also different locations in the world. Is there also different? Is the organization changing? Are they looking at internationals like, oh, let them all come in, or is it also? Do you think about this? If this should be like a wise mixture, maybe, or what is the thought of? How do you see this as a company?
Well, I think that the center in Groningen is a separate IBM company, and that's not for nothing. They wanted to have a little bit more startup mentality and want to attract more internationals. The focus, the culture is different than in the bigger IBM. We have an average age of 32, while in the bigger IBM it is about 50. So that is already a difference. And the atmosphere,
the average age is quite high then, you might say, at IBM. I didn't expect this.
Yeah, it's quite high. So yes, the center in Groningen is more than new IBM, I would say.
And we talked earlier about the different projects you are doing around the world, of course, and I think you also mentioned that sometimes it doesn't work with internationals and sometimes it's Dutch. Is there also something to say about this? How this work with the projects you are doing?
Well, international companies like Shell, Philips, they don't mind whatever language there is because they all speak English. So that's not a problem. But governments, our Dutch government sometimes requires to have Dutch language. So we provide Dutch language lessons as well. But they prefer natives then, but sometimes we can manage that. We can give someone who speaks Dutch very well, but is not from a Dutch origin.
Yeah, so to give more chances for internationals, it still would be wise for them to learn Dutch then, because there will be a wider possible opportunities then.
Yeah, true.
Alex, you have also, of course, different internationals working in your company. How is this with, a stupid question maybe, how do you do with this catering or food or drinks? Or is there a difference in hygiene, how you do things, or did you,
it's are small things, of course. But when you want to buy a Christmas present, we don't put alcohol in it, for example, or pork meat or that kind of thing. So that's a thing, of course, sometimes we have to introduce them to national days, and that's also something interesting. Like you have
King's Day.
King's Day or Easter or are we free today? And then we forgot to say it. That happens sometimes.
My experience is, for example, holidays. We have in the Netherlands, we're quite common with we work, say, 36 to 40 hours a week, and then because we like our leisure, all our free time, sporting, and of course we have Corona, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But we like this, and we also like our holidays. We actually have a lot of holiday for if you compare this to other countries. Is this also something, Betty, maybe to you? Is this something you occur when people come to work to you and say, "Do I have so many vacation when I'm working with you?" Or is this not? And is this maybe also different for your company in the world? Because you probably, in different countries, you have to deal with different things. How does that work?
Well, actually, we really have a lot of holidays when you compare it with other companies, or with other countries, I mean. But the downside is that we have less holy days, religious days. And other countries, they have more. So what we see is that in our center with the 35 nationalities, sometimes people imagine that they have a day off because of whatever religious
holiday.
We didn't get it. So then we have to tell them, yes, but there are your holidays for. And we don't only have festivity with our religious days.
I can imagine that's quite difficult,
But you have to really think about it, because I forget, I don't know all these Kazakhstan holidays. So you have to think.
What would you think? I talked to a company once, Alex, and this company had like a mixture of people working in this organization, like Dutch and internationals. And this company said, "Oh, for us it's very good, because then we have a multiple innovation, actually, because different angles from teams are coming in our organization." And we think that we have more innovative power because we have this different multilingual perspective. Are there other things why for you that you think, or maybe this is also important for you, why you would think like a mixture would be especially handy, or how do you look at this?
I don't know if it's because of the internationals, but what I see is that we last 2 years, we were able to raise the level of the software development process, and especially the process. And I see that the Dutch, I see that the talent is more focused on how can we organize this process better and a better review process. Maybe it's a cultural thing, I'm not sure, but we were able to raise the standards when it comes to the software development process. And if we didn't have those internationals or external capacity, so I'm not sure if it's because of internationals, but
you have the feeling you did some steps forward then.
Yeah.
How is the IBM looking at this? Because you probably have this strategy thoughts about how to use your HR staff. Is that something you think about?
Yes. What we see is that in different countries, they have a different focus in their education, their university education. Like, for instance, in Romania, they have very analytical skills. So the Romanian people bring that. While the Chinese bring more the process-oriented step-by-step way of doing. The Egyptians have more focus on blockchain at this moment. So it is good to have those cultures. And like Alex said, it can raise your standard quite a lot. Yeah.
Cool. So thank you very much. I didn't see any chats come in. If there are still questions from people, please pop them in. We are going to round up. If you have more questions for me about this topic, or Alex or Betty, please put it in their chat in their companies, or ask them later on. It's also fine. To round this up, Alex, what would you, if you think about to hire internationals, what would be the reason to do this for companies? You think what would be the reason to do this? What is your reason?
Yeah, then I'm going to repeat it myself, of course. But if you want
give me one thing.
Yeah, okay. But if you want to make your company future-proof, it's inevitable that you're going to work with internationals.
And Betty? Yeah. Oh, sorry. One thing. I tried not to repeat you. Sorry. Say it again, Alex.
No, I would like.
Sorry.
Last one. I would like to say if anyone here in the audience is considering hiring internationals but are on the verge of doing it, yes or no, feel free to contact me. That's what I want to let them know.
Cool. Betty?
Well, I fully agree with the reason Alex gave. And there's one other thing I want to add. It is fun to have different cultures. Enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. So I think we all agree this. I would thank you, Alex. I would thank you, Betty, for your sharing your thoughts and your ideas about how you do this at IBM and at your innovation companies, Alex van Ginneken. I would say round this off. Thank you very much. I hope you had a great time, everyone in the audience, and I think we are going to the speed dating. So thank you, and have a great speed dating, and see you on the hosting table.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.